tale of the Snowdrop Princess. Once upon a time, in a kingdom blanketed by eternal winter, there lived a young princess named Fiona. She was known throughout the land as the Snowdrop Princess, for she was born on the coldest night of the year, when the first snowdrop flower miraculously bloomed through the frost. Her hair was as white as freshly fallen snow, her eyes the pale blue of a winter sky, and her skin seemed to shimmer like ice in the moonlight. But though her appearance was cold, her heart was warm, filled with kindness and a deep love for her people. The kingdom of Frostvale was a place of breathtaking beauty, with towering ice castles, glistening frozen lakes, and forests of evergreen trees heavy with snow. But the endless winter was also a curse. Crops could not grow, and the people struggled to survive. The king and queen, Fiona's parents, had tried everything to break the curse, consulting wizards, offering treasures to the spirits of the forest, even sending brave knights to seek answers in distant lands. But nothing worked. The winter persisted, and the people grew weary. Fiona, now 16, had always felt a strange connection to the snow and ice. She could walk barefoot in the snow without feeling cold, and when she sang, the wind seemed to carry her voice across the kingdom, bringing a fleeting warmth to those who heard it. But she also felt the weight of her people's suffering and longed to find a way to end the eternal winter. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars began to twinkle in the frosty sky, Fiona stood on the balcony of the ice castle, gazing out at the snowy landscape. She whispered a prayer to the stars, asking for guidance. To her surprise, a soft voice answered. "Princess Fiona," the voice said, "if you wish to end the winter, you must seek the heart of spring." Fiona turned and saw a small, glowing figure hovering in the air. It was a snow sprite, no taller than her hand, with wings made of delicate ice crystals. The sprite's voice was like the tinkling of wind chimes. "The heart of spring?" Fiona asked. "What is that?" "It is a magical gem hidden deep within the Frostfire Mountains," the sprite explained. "It holds the power to bring life back to the land. But the journey is perilous, and the gem is guarded by the Frost Dragon, a creature as old as winter itself." Fiona's heart raced. She had heard tales of the Frostfire Mountains, a treacherous range where the cold was so intense it could freeze a person's breath in their lungs. And the Frost Dragon was said to be a fearsome beast, with scales as hard as diamond, and breath that could turn anything to ice. But she knew she had to try. The next morning, Fiona packed a small bag with provisions, a warm cloak, a flask of hot tea, and a dagger her father had given her for protection. She left a note for her parents, promising to return, and set off on her journey. The path to the Frostfire Mountains was long and arduous. Fiona trudged through deep snow, her breath forming clouds in the frigid air. She crossed frozen rivers and climbed steep, icy slopes. Along the way, she encountered many challenges. A pack of snow wolves stalked her, their eyes glowing like embers in the dark. But she sang a lullaby her mother had taught her, and the wolves lay down in the snow, lulled to sleep by her voice. She faced a blizzard so fierce it nearly buried her, but she pressed on, guided by the light of the snowdrop flower she carried, which glowed softly in the storm. After days of travel, Fiona finally reached the base of the Frostfire Mountains. The peaks loomed above her, their jagged edges cutting into the sky like shards of glass. She began her ascent, her fingers numb and her legs aching with every step. As she climbed higher, the air grew thinner and the cold became almost unbearable. But she refused to give up. At last, she reached the summit, where a massive ice cave yawned open before her. Inside, the walls glittered with frost, and the air was so cold it burned her lungs. In the center of the cave, on a pedestal of ice, rested the heart of spring. It was a gem the size of her fist, glowing with a soft, golden light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. But between her and the gem stood the frost dragon. The dragon was even more terrifying than the stories had described. Its scales shimmered like diamonds, and its eyes glowed with an icy blue light. When it saw Fiona, it let out a roar that shook the cave, sending shards of ice raining down from the ceiling. "Who dares to enter my lair?" the dragon bellowed, its voice echoing like thunder. Fiona stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "I am Princess Fiona of Frostvale. I have come to ask for the heart of spring, to save my people from the eternal winter." The dragon tilted its massive head, studying her. "Many have come seeking the heart of spring," it said, "but none have been worthy. Why should I give it to you?" Fiona thought for a moment, then said, "Because I do not seek it for power or glory. I seek it out of love for my people. I would give anything to see them happy and free from suffering." The dragon's eyes softened, and it lowered its head. "You speak with a pure heart," it said, "but to prove your worth, you must pass one final test." The dragon breathed a stream of icy mist, and the cave walls began to shift and change. Fiona found herself standing in a frozen forest, surrounded by trees made of ice. In the distance, she saw a small, flickering light. The dragon's voice echoed in her mind. "Follow the light, and you will find what you seek." Fiona walked through the forest, the light always just out of reach. The cold bit at her skin, and her legs felt like lead, but she kept going. At last, she reached a clearing, where the light hovered above a frozen pond. As she approached, she saw her reflection in the ice, but it was not her own face staring back. It was the face of an old woman, weathered and worn, yet filled with wisdom and kindness. "Who are you?" Fiona asked. "I am the spirit of the land," the reflection replied. "The eternal winter is not just a curse upon your kingdom, but a reflection of the sorrow in your people's hearts. To break the curse, you must show them that even in the coldest winter, there is hope and beauty." Fiona nodded, understanding. She reached out and touched the ice, and the reflection smiled. The light grew brighter, enveloping her in warmth, and the frozen forest melted away. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the dragon's cave. The heart of spring glowed brightly in her hands, and the dragon bowed its head. "You have proven your worth," the dragon said. "Take the heart of spring, and may it bring life and joy to your kingdom." Fiona thanked the dragon and began her journey home. As she descended the mountains, the snow began to melt, and the first green shoots of spring pushed through the earth. By the time she reached Frostvale, the kingdom was transformed. Flowers bloomed, trees bore fruit, and the people rejoiced. Fiona placed the heart of spring in the center of the castle garden, where it continued to glow, ensuring that the kingdom would never again be trapped in eternal winter. And from that day on, the Snowdrop Princess was celebrated not just for her beauty, but for her courage and love, which had brought life back to the land. And so, the kingdom of Frostvale flourished, and Fiona ruled with wisdom and compassion, her heart as warm as the spring she had brought to her people. And every year, on the coldest night of winter, a single snowdrop flower would bloom in the castle garden, a reminder of the princess who had saved them all. The end.